Hi, Mary. I'm going to make a little video for you that you can use to study that F major and E minor chord. So what I'm going to do is, I know it's just to make it a little bit easier for you to see where I'm going with this. I'm going to put this marker on the F note. This, by the way, this is middle C right here. Okay, so this is the F. And you can find that right because of the three black keys. It's the first white key just before the start of the black keys, or you can say it's the first white key to the left. The next note is going to be A, and the next note will be C. So hopefully that gives you some perspective, because I know sometimes it can be hard to see when I'm just using my fingers. So I did send you a picture of the sheet that I'm using for these two chords. So we're going to use the fifth finger to play the F, the third finger to play the A, and I'm going to use my first finger to play the C. So this is the grip. So hopefully that works. That gives you some idea of where my fingers are. So that's the F major. Now, when we refer to this F major, we usually just say F, and it's understood that that means F major. Okay. So the grip that we're using again is going to be these three fingers: fifth, third, and first. So now, obviously, no matter where I play this, if I use these same notes, it's going to be an F chord, F major chord. So if I come down here, hopefully that's showing up. Yes, it is. But you can see that if I use these, if I go by these three black keys, it's an F. So now we're just down from the middle C. Now, obviously, if I come middle C again, if I come up here and play F, A, C, guess what? F major, right? So that's going to be how this works. Now, one thing that I did want to point out to you, the spelling, we call that the spelling of the chord, F-A-C. So if I say this chord is spelled F-A-C, that's what I'm referring to. I'm referring to the notes that make up that chord. Now, the notes do not necessarily have to be from left to right going F, A, C. Let's go back here to where we were. Again, this being middle C. We don't have to play them in this order, F, A, C. Now the root or the tone center of this chord is the F. But I really don't have to play it that way all the time. So for example, I could take this F and I could just move it up here and play this F. Now going left to right, I now spell the chord A, C, F. But it's still an F chord because we're still using these three notes. So it's still an F major chord. So likewise, I could take the A that I'm playing here and I could move it up to this A over here. And it is still an F major chord. And we can just keep doing this, moving the notes up. As long as I always use that F, A, and C, it's a F major chord. And we call these inversions. So I just wanted to kind of touch base with you on this, because this can be kind of a concept that after a few months it'll sort of just be old hat for you. But in the beginning, most students are a little confused about it. So when we spell the chord with the tone center or the root note in the lowest note on the chord, that's called the root position. Okay. Now, if I take this F and I move it up to this F, we now refer to this as an F major chord, but in what we call the first inversion. So again, F, A, C. If the A is in the lowest position, followed by the C and the F, we now refer to that as the first inversion. And the reason why we do this is because sometimes it's just more convenient to play when we're moving around the keyboard to not have the tone center in the root position, and it still will sound fine. Also, sometimes we do that just because we want a particular voicing, or we're doing something else in the other hand. Now, the second inversion, if I start here, F, A, C, my first inversion, as we said, was if I take the root note from F and move it up to this F, that's the first inversion. So now from here, if I take this A and I move it up to this A, again, I have my 3 black notes. I'm going to use the this note, this key right here that's in between these 2 black keys. And whether I'm in between these 2 black keys or these 2 black keys, as you know, it's still an A. So now I have C, F, A. Still the same 3 notes. So now we call that the second inversion. So let's quickly review that. Root position, F, A, C, the root of the chord F, and we know it's the root of the chord because it's called an F chord, so the root will always be whatever we call the name of the chord, the main name of the chord. So here we have the root position with the root, in this case F, in the lowest position. If I move this up, now the A is in the lowest position. First inversion is how we're going to refer to that. Now if I take my A and I move that up to this A, it's now the second inversion. So now let's follow this to its logical conclusion. If I take this C and I move it up to this C, I'm back to root position. I'm just an octave higher. I'm back to F, A, C. So we can think about it this way. Here I had F, A, C, and as you know, I can also come up here, F, A, C, and any F, A, C combination anywhere on the fretboard is going to give me an F major chord. So hopefully that works for you. Now, we aren't going to use these inversions tomorrow, but at some point we will start using these inversions, and you'll see why. But in any case, just get comfortable with this F major chord. Let's take a quick look at the E minor chord. So based on that sheet I gave you, the keyboard on the bottom is where I made a diagram showing the E minor chord. So E, again, here's middle C, here's E. I'm going to put the marker on that E. The next note is going to be G. So here's my G. And then the third note will be B. And the fingering for this E minor chord will be the same as it was for the F major. So the grip will be the same. We're just going to use different notes, right? In fact, well, let's just look at this real quick. So I got 5 on the E, 3 on the G, and 1 on the B. So E, G, B. So now the same, really quickly, the same rules will apply to this chord as applied to the F major chord. If I take the E and I move it up an octave essentially to here, I still have the same notes. I still have E, G, and B. E, G, and B. They're just in a different order. So that's the first inversion with my G, B, E. So the second inversion will be if I take the G and bring it up to this G. Here's my second inversion. I'm still using the same notes. They're just in a different order. Now I have B, E, and G. So E, G, B is how we spell an E minor, regardless of the order in which we find them on the fretboard. Not the fretboard, sorry, the keyboard. So regardless of where we are on the keyboard, that's how we're going to spell this particular chord. So if I were to come down here, again, I have E, G, B. If I take my E and bring it up an octave to this E, still an E minor, but the lowest note is now going to be the G. That's the first inversion. Second inversion is if I take this G and move it up an octave to this G, I now have B, E, G. It's still an E minor chord. So it kind of gets to start sounding like alphabet soup, where you can, if you only had E, G, and B in your soup and you kind of mixed it up, it's still going to be an E minor chord. No matter how many times you stir it, if those are the only 3 letters you have in your soup, it doesn't matter where the notes are in your soup, you still are playing an E minor, okay? And we're going to use some of these songs that we're working on to start helping you get used to these inversions, all right? So, by the way, those rules apply the same to the C chord that you already know. So real quick, if I spell C, C, E, G, this is the root position because the C is in the lowest note. If I take the C, move it up here, first inversion, I'm still dealing with the same letters or notes, E, G, and E. They're just in a different order. If I take the E, move it up an octave, same notes as what I had when I started, but now it's the second inversion. So in the C chord, C major in this case, when the C is in the bottom, it's root position because the C is the root of the note. The E and the G This is actually what we would call the third, and this would be the fifth. So, but don't worry about that for now. Just trust me on this, that this is how this is going to work. And after you start doing it a few times, it does get to be just it becomes rather easy after a while. But in the beginning, it is kind of tricky because we got enough to worry about our fingers and where we are on the keyboard now, and we're starting to mix things up. It's just one more piece in the puzzle of playing the piano. So in any event, I hope that helps. So real quick, I'm going to play C in the root position. Now I'm going to play C in the first inversion. So now E, G, C. See, it still sounds like a C chord. If I play the second inversion, G's in the bottom, C is next, E is next. If I take this note, bring it up here, we're back to root because the C's in the bottom position. So we have root position, first inversion, and second inversion. And just to make sure that you don't forget, the F grip and the E minor grip are the same. In fact, they're the same as the C and the G. So in all of these chords, whether it be C, E minor, F, or G, C, E minor, F, or G, I'm always gonna use fifth, third, and first finger. So that's kind of convenient. Just kind of makes it easy for me to pop around the fretboard, the keyboard. So I like you to just have some fun with these, because really no matter what you do, when you mess with those four chords, the C, the E minor, the F, and the G, you can just put them in pretty much in any order. They're going to sound fine, but you normally want to resolve or finish your phrase or finish your song on the root note. That's not always the case, but for now, that's kind of what we're going to do. Okay, that's what most of the songs are doing. So it's kind of a long video. I hope that helps. And if you get a chance, check this stuff out. And I'm sure you'll probably understand most of it before your lesson tomorrow. We can kind of just work on the music. But if you have any questions, make sure you let me know, okay? All right, I'll see you.